You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. Our topic for discussion today is the holidays and your cholesterol, which for a lot of people can ignite some frustration because during the holidays, we tend to indulge a little and we tend to go overboard. And then that can cause problems for us in regards to various health conditions. So we decided that it was important that we kind of address some of those and provide you some tips for surviving the holiday when you have chronic diseases. So, like I said, during the holidays, there can be a struggle, especially if you're a person that has high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol. It's the time of year that people tend to overindulge. You've got family that bring all these delicious meals and desserts and rich foods, and there seems to be so much of everything. But knowing what to eat and what not to eat can be very difficult. It can not only cause anxiety and frustration, it can cause some very serious health complications if we're not careful. So, our presentation today addresses some of that. So we start out by talking about what is cholesterol and why is it important during our holiday meals. First off, cholesterol is a fatty, waxy substance that's produced by your liver, and it's also found in some foods. That sounds appetizing, doesn't it? It's necessary for the body's cells. It's necessary in digesting food and making hormones. And it contributes to the production of vitamin D, which we all need. But when you eat too much food containing cholesterol, trans fats, saturated fats, the liver is prompted to make more cholesterol than the body actually does need. This high cholesterol increases your risk for suffering from coronary artery disease, strokes, and heart attacks. Having high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and high blood sugars are the number one cause of cardiovascular events in the United States. So, diabetes, hypertension, and smoking further exacerbate your risk for having cardiovascular disease when your cholesterol is high. So, we're going to talk about the three things that most of us know: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hopefully, some of you guys are old enough that you remember this movie with Clint Eastwood, but I'm a Clint Eastwood fan, so that's why this slide is there. The blood test known as a lipid panel measures two kinds of cholesterol: our LDL, which is our low density cholesterol, or our low density lipids, and the HDL, which is our high density lipids. These two components make up a part of the cholesterol. The LDL is our unhealthy cholesterol, and it carries two of the credentials of being both the bad and the ugly. And our HDL is our good cholesterol, and it helps to benefit the body. And the way that the cholesterol works in the body is like a seesaw. As one goes up, the other goes down. So if our LDL, or the bad cholesterol, is high, that causes an automatic decrease in our good cholesterol, and vice versa. And sometimes people get them confused. So I always try to give people kind of a way to remember. L stands for lousy. So the LDL is our bad cholesterol, and H stands for happy. So the HDL is our good cholesterol. And we always want the good cholesterol to outweigh the bad cholesterol. So, what is hyperlipidemia? Well, that's another term known as high cholesterol, which means too much bad cholesterol in the blood. This condition increases the fatty deposits in the arteries and increases the risk of blockage because it causes you to build plaque. And plaque sticks to the interior walls of the arteries and blood vessels, which then cause other things to attach and build up, to include sugar and ruptured red blood cells, which can completely obstruct the flow of healthy blood throughout the body. Normal ranges of cholesterol. It's important that we know what our total cholesterol is and what the levels for our cholesterol should be. So when we look at our total cholesterol, a level of less than 200 milligrams per deciliter is considered normal. So you want a total cholesterol number of less than 200. If it's between 200 and 239, you're borderline or high risk. And if it is greater than 239, you are at severe risk for cardiovascular problems. A total cholesterol level that is considered between 200 and 239 is something that we should be paying attention to, because we're borderline and we're heading toward an increased risk for our cardiovascular damage. And of course, 240 and higher, we're in trouble. We need to do something to lessen that cholesterol level. And the total cholesterol level can be measured at any time of day. It used to be thought that in order to have your cholesterol done, you had to be fasting, or it had to be done first thing in the morning. And that's not necessarily true anymore. But if you're looking at the cholesterol level chart that I have here, you can see how we define parameters for desirable, borderline, and dangerous cholesterol levels. And when we're looking at the LDL, or the lousy cholesterol, we want to try and keep that under 130. For our HDL, we want to keep that above 50. And our triglycerides, which is also a component of our cholesterol, we want it less than 200. So primarily, as one of these improves or increases, the other decreases. So it's very important that we keep our good cholesterol high and our bad cholesterol low. So what are some of the causes of high cholesterol? Well, there's a lot of different factors that can contribute to high cholesterol, some of which we can control and some of which we have no control over whatsoever. For example, our family history. Apparently, there is a gene for high cholesterol. And if you have members of the family with high cholesterol, that puts you at high risk for developing high cholesterol as well. Another important fact that plays a role in your cholesterol levels, of course, is your diet, your physical activity, your weight and whether or not you are obese, your alcohol consumption, and whether or not you smoke. All of those factors can contribute to a higher cholesterol level. Sometimes it can also be triggered by secondary causes which increase the cholesterol level, which we may or may not have control over. One of those being a fatty liver. So when we take a deeper look at the causes of high cholesterol, I think you guys pretty much know some of these. And we know the one that's most common, and that's an unhealthy diet. It's one of the most common causes of high blood cholesterol. Eating a diet that includes too much saturated fats, trans fats, full fat dairy products can all lead to high cholesterol levels. Sometimes we even want to say we need to slap a label on places that serve fast food that warns us that these foods are prepared with either high saturated fats, trans fats, hydrogenated fats, or full dairy, which is a signal to us that this can lead to high cholesterol levels. Lack of physical activity can cause increases in our level of our LDL, our low density lipoproteins in the blood vessels. Obesity. People who are overweight are likely to have higher levels of low density lipoprotein, or the LDL, again, our bad cholesterol, and lower levels of high density HDL, or good cholesterol, and alcohol consumption. Excessive consumption of alcohol beverage can cause an increase in our natural production of cholesterol. So these are all things that we need to be aware of and need to watch when it comes to controlling our cholesterol levels, keeping that HDL higher than our LDL. So how do we control our cholesterol? I just told you. One of the things that people dislike most that I say quite often is eliminating trans and hydrogenated fats. So how can you identify what a trans or a hydrogenated fat looks like? Well, any fat that turns solid at room temperature is hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated. That would include things like stick butter, stick margarine, Crisco, lard, coconut oil, and bacon grease, all of which change consistency as it cools and becomes solid. And if you think about it like this, if it's solid at room temperature, what is it in our bodies? It's at least semi-solid, and it's contributing to that buildup of plaque within our arteries. How else do we control our cholesterol? Through exercise. Exercise helps us to burn and reduce the amount of storage of fat, and therefore we have less fat in our blood circulation. Consuming fewer saturated fats and more unsaturated fats can help to contribute to controlling our cholesterol. And a biggie is to quit smoking. Smoking and the form of acrolein helps to contribute to that stickiness of the fat, which allows it to collect within the arteries and blood vessels. Losing weight helps to put less strain on the liver and allows the body to utilize the fat more efficiently. Eat more polyunsaturated foods and consume soluble dietary fiber. And in case you're asking what is dietary fiber, raw vegetables and fruit contain dietary fiber. Whole grains, nuts, these all help to contribute to move things through the body and out the body so that they are not metabolized and stored, such as fats and sugars. The American Heart Association also provides additional information to help you in managing your cholesterol levels. And it's on YouTube. It's youtube.b/JJOCVOV4WGU. We'll make this available to you when you receive a copy of the actual presentation. And they have like a video there that helps you to go through as well on tips on controlling the cholesterol levels. So I know one of the first things is, okay, so the holidays are here. You're telling me I need to cut back on some of the things I'm eating. So how am I supposed to enjoy my holiday meals? First tip, don't skip meals the day of the party or the event. Meaning Christmas morning, don't skip breakfast and wait all day long for that turkey dinner or the tamales or the barbecue or whatever it is you're having. Skipping meals is the #1 cause of people overeating. So when you do eat, you're not being selective. You're not making the conscious decision, is this my medicine or is this my poison? And 9 times out of 10, we're going to choose what's our poison. Pre-plan what you're going to eat to avoid temptation of foods that you know you shouldn't have. It's important to stay within your dietary recommendations, even during the holidays, because no matter how little or how much you try to avoid high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and high blood pressure, that Christmas meal can be so tempting that it kind of sends us over the edge. So pre-plan what you're going to eat. If you know that Aunt Mabel's bringing the macaroni and cheese and she's put 4 sticks of butter, 6 eggs, and a pound of salt in that, maybe that's not exactly what I put on my plate. Or if I do, a very small amount. Tip number 3, eat a light snack before going to the party or for the Christmas dinner. Don't arrive hungry. Again, that's the number one reason we overeat. And we make bad choices when we're hungry. We do what we call emergency eating. And that is eating what we see, not thinking about what we're putting into our bodies. And make only one trip to the buffet. One of the other suggestions is remembering to eat in moderation. Unfortunately, most people during the holidays eat from a platter. We should be eating from a 10-inch plate. And a healthy plate consists of 50% fruits and vegetables, 25% of our source of protein, and 25% of our fiber-rich carbs. Outside of that, the rest is really just our poison. So we need to be selective and eat in moderation. So when we talk about smaller portions, eat what you like and avoid the platter use. Again, unfortunately, Americans are seen as being greedy and fat. That's because the rest of the world eats from a 9, 10, or even an 8-inch plate. And you and I know that Americans developed the term supersize. We don't have to have food running over every side of our plate to get enough to eat or to enjoy the food that we eat. Tip number 7, skip the fried foods. Foods that are fried are generally fried in oils that can tolerate the heat. And most oils that tolerate high heat for frying are saturated and are either trans fats or hydrogenated fats. Fruits and vegetables that have fiber block the digestion of carbohydrates. And when it comes to our source of proteins, the less the feet, the better the meat. And most people go, what? How many feet does a pig or a cow have? 4. How many feet does a turkey or a chicken have? 2. What about a fish? None. Eggs, mushrooms, edamame, tofu, chickpeas. These are all good sources of protein, but are very low in fat and very low in carbs. So when it comes to selecting our proteins in helping our cholesterol levels, the less the feet, the better the meat. If we're having the turkey, remember, white meat over dark meat. Dark meat has more fat. And we want to avoid the trans fats and hydrogenated oils and fats. Those are the cholesterol increasing oils. So we want to limit or avoid those as much as possible. So what foods should we avoid? I know y'all are thinking right about now, I really don't like her. But the fried foods, fried chicken, the chips, the fries, all are high cholesterol, high fat foods. Fast foods such as burgers and pizza, full dairy products like butter, full fat cheeses, and full fat yogurts. We want to remove the skin off of poultry. We want to limit our red meats and avoid things like lamb ribs, fatty meat, and ground meat that is less than 90% lean. We need to avoid processed meats such as sausages, salt pork, cured bacon, honey-coated any kind of a meat. Those are things that we want to avoid. And we want to avoid pastries or any food made with white enriched flour. White enriched flour is high in carbs and is metabolized very quickly in the body. That means the pie crusts, the cakes, the cookies, the gravies, the coatings on our meats, all of those are going to contribute to both our carb and our fat consumption. Again, the hydrogenated oils, we want to avoid those. And be careful with your salad dressings. How many times have you seen people that fill a plate with lettuce and tomatoes and carrots and all of those good things, and then drown the salad in salad dressing? You've just defeated the purpose, because what you've added to a very healthy meal is fat and sugar. And we want healthy oils. We want to avoid those oils that cause elevations in our cholesterol. We want oils like canola oil, sesame seed oil, avocado oil, and olive oil. Those are polyunsaturated and easily digested. More tips. I just kind of gave you a clue on the 3 things that we need to avoid most. Enriched flour. If you're going to have something that's made from flour, it needs to be either whole wheat, multigrain, or nut flour, such as almond flour, chickpea flour. There are a number of different types of flour that food can be made with that don't contain the amount of fat or carbs that white flour does. So if we're going to have bread, have a wheat roll or a multi-wheat roll. And if you have the roll, you got to substitute for something else. The hydrogenated oils that I just talked about, we want to avoid those. And we want to avoid foods that have added sugars or high fructose corn syrup. Again, any food made with enriched flour, we want to avoid. Most people don't realize it, but they don't think about the carbs we're adding to our foods when we use white flour. Gravies. What's gravy made from? White flour and the animal drippings or animal fat from when we prepared another food. We want to choose foods made with whole grains, high fiber. We want to avoid things like stick butter and oils that are solid at room temperature. These are things I just kind of mentioned to you before, but I wanted you to be able to see it in writing. And I know y'all are probably going to send me hate mail later because I just ruined your plans for your Christmas dinner, but it may help you to live to see another Christmas. These are modifications that we need to make if we're going to keep our chronic diseases under control. And what I mean by our chronic diseases, top 3 are going to be high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and high blood sugars, which is diabetes. Tip number 10, bring a low-fat, low-carb, healthy treat for everybody to try. This way, you know that there's at least one thing at the dinner table that you can enjoy. And generally, most people are willing to try something new if they know it's going to be good for them, especially if it tastes good. And we want to avoid heavy alcohol. Try a wine spritzer or a seltzer instead of straight liquors. Alcohol can cause a rebound effect for people that have diabetes, and it can interfere with other medications such as heart medications, cholesterol medications, and your blood pressure medications. So we want to limit the drinking. Watch out for the high-fat cheeses, the dips, and the sugary desserts. If you're going to have a second helping of anything, make it the vegetables or the salad. This will help to keep you full without increasing your carbs or your fatty foods. And if you're going to have gravy, make low-fat gravy and put it on the side of the food, not all over your plate. And leave off the whipped cream if not sugar-free. And avoid the ice cream when you're having pie. Remember, we want to reduce our fat and our carb consumption. So we want to take away and not add to the cholesterol that we're already making. And finally, exercise the day of the big meal. Exercise burns carbs or sugar in the muscles. It helps to reduce the amount of fat that is building up in the body. And if you have diabetes, check your blood sugar more often than normal on the day of this big meal. It'll help to give you what you need to know about what you're eating and what effect that's having on your body. And most importantly, focus on the good conversation, the good company, and the thankfulness of being together, not the food on the table. Enjoy your family and your friends as much as you do the food. At this point, that really concludes my tips for surviving the holiday with high cholesterol, and I'll address any questions that you may have.
So if you have any questions, again, you can post it in the chat or you can take yourself off of mute to ask the question.
No questions? One of the questions that was asked earlier were, what would be a good food for the holiday? Well, of course, you've got all of your high fiber vegetables. Any vegetable that you can eat raw is going to be healthy for you because it provides your vitamins and it also provides fiber to help with the digestion and movement of those foods. If you're concerned about a snack, you want a high fiber, low carb snack. As a person with high cholesterol, you should eat in about the same way you do if you have diabetes. And that would be having a low carb, low fat, high fiber, high protein, and low sodium meal. I'll repeat that. Low carb, low fat, high fiber, high protein, and low sodium. I see there's one question in the chat. Heather, can you tell me what that one is?
It wasn't anyone, they didn't have a question. They just said very insightful and thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Any other questions? Anything we can answer?
No, ma'am. Doesn't
No?
look like it.
Okay. If you go to the Health Texas website.
There's a question.
Oh, okay.
Does donating blood help with the cholesterol?
No, not necessarily. No, because donating blood, you're donating whole blood. And if your cholesterol is high, that means there's high fat in your blood. And not only does that not help you, it doesn't help the individual that would receive that blood if it's high in fat.
Okay.
There seems to be another question too.
They were all related to that, to the one particular question.
About donating blood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Very insightful. Hi, Heather, this is Cindy.
Hi,
That's a
Cindy.
great question. I guess I never thought about it from the recipient of the blood donor point of view.
yeah. And now there have been some changes on who can and who can't donate. And just as a matter of information, diabetics can now donate blood, but they have to have a hemoglobin A1C that is in control or at the range of approximately 7. And they have to have a doctor's permission to be able to donate.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
If you go to the Health Texas website, we will be posting a copy of our Surviving the Holidays recipe book. And there are recipes in this booklet for both appetizers, main dishes, holiday drinks, and desserts that are going to be low in carb and low in fat. And we welcome you to going online, taking a look at that, and trying some of these recipes. One of them that I have been preparing at our Surviving the Holidays nutrition class has been the low carb buñuelos and the low carb holiday punch. The low carb buñuelos are being made from low carb tortillas, the use of spray olive oil, sugar alcohol, which is not absorbed or metabolized the way sugar is, and ground cinnamon. And they're baked, not fried. And everyone who has tried them so far really likes them. So that might be a recipe that you're interested in, and it will be in that recipe book.
We do have one more question. It's is oatmeal good to lower cholesterol, although high in carbs?
Oatmeal is good in helping to lower cholesterol because of the amount of fiber in oatmeal. The thing you need to know though, prepackaged or processed oatmeal contains too much fat. The recommendation by the FDA in regards to high cholesterol and high blood sugars is steel cut oats. So instant oatmeal is not to your benefit, but steel cut oats that you cook on the stove are.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that question. Are there any other questions? And it doesn't look like there's any more questions, Terry. And then if you let me know when that that cookbook is out there, and maybe we can also get it out on the Keep It website too, but I can let those that registered for today's session, I can let them know that it's out there.
Okay, I'm anticipating that should be out there by Monday. So
Okay,
I will definitely let you know for sure.
Okay, sounds good. And so if there are no more questions, that actually will conclude our presentation for today. And I do thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.